Okay, we'll come back into open session and item 2.02, certification of closed session in accordance with the Code of Virginia, section 2.2-3711. Cheryl, would you read us out of closed?
Yes. I move that the Roanoke County School Board come out of closed session for the following: for discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body at 2.2-3711A 29 of the Code of Virginia. I also move to certify that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the school board.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Item 2.03, action from closed. Mr. Ray?
Mr. Chairman, I move to select the proposal from branch/RRMM and proceed to an interim agreement which we deem to be advantageous to the competitive negotiation process. The superintendent is authorized to negotiate an interim agreement for subsequent approval by the school board.
A second?
Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, with that, we'll start our information items from,
Did you want to wish, Mr. Chairman, excuse me,
Yeah.
Brent, well?
yeah, well, that's what I, yeah.
Oh,
that's what I got.
sorry.
We'll enter, thank you, though. We'll enter the public portion of our work session today, but I do want to mention, as Ms. Fasciani was mentioning, Brent is not with us today. Mr. Hudson is not with us today, and he's had an emergency that has came up, and I won't go into the details of the emergency, but just want him to know that he's in our thoughts and prayers, and that we wish him and his family the best, and we'll proceed without him, but he's given us his blessing to continue with the meeting. So, having said that, item 3.01, food donation agreement between the Roanoke County School Board and the Rescue Mission of Roanoke, Ms. Susan Peterson.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good. Behind my glasses. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. During the August 3rd work session, Ms. Estrada presented information about the food waste program in the nutrition services area. School board had requested that we go back and look at implementing some of these programs. Ms. Estrada has taken great efforts to reach out to many of the local nonprofits, and so I wanted to give you an update as to the progress of her work. She is unable to be here today, otherwise she would be here presenting this. So we're going to talk about the first pilot that we have getting ready to start. We'll talk about a pending pilot that may be starting as well. And then the third is the winter break donation that they had already mentioned that they would proceed with. So first off, the rescue mission has signed, and Roanoke County Public Schools has signed. We have entered into an MOU for someone at the rescue mission to come to Cave Spring High School and to Hidden Valley High School to pick up student waste donations. This is going to be packaged food that has not been broken open or tampered with, and it will be any fruit that still has its peel intact. They will come on site, they will follow typical visitor protocol. They will check in at the front office, go to the cafeteria, pick up the food, and take it back to the rescue mission to provide to their folks who need some help. I had another point that I was going to make. This will begin in January, and really, that's about it.
Ms. Peterson, so you mentioned the prepackaged or if it has the peel. Are we able to offer them, I know temperature is a big issue, milk, any other juices, things like that?
I do believe that for those two schools, for the pilot, we will have some refrigeration on hand for them, so they will pick that up as well.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Just for our security purposes, excuse me, they'll probably come in the back, they'll come in the front to sign in,
They'll
but
come
they'll
in
take
through
the
the
food
front
out, take the food out the front as well. Okay.
Yep.
That's, you answered it.
And this pilot will go through the end of the school year, and then we can revisit a full year after we have feedback from the rescue mission to see how it works for them.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Oh, no, she's got more.
Oh, you got more? Okay.
Sorry. We do have a pending partnership that will follow the same type of protocol. This is a nonprofit that we are in the middle of working out an MOU with, but we don't have a signed contract yet. Hopefully, after the break, we'll get back and they were just working with their lawyers, I think, on the final agreement. This will be at Northside High School. And then for the winter break, so the third part of this, on December 18th, everyone in the nutrition program, the central office staff, and our field managers will go around to all of our schools, pick up any perishables that can be donated, because we will be closed for 2 full weeks, and take all of that food that would expire while our students are away, and drop that off at the rescue mission.
That's pretty nice.
Is that the first time you guys have done the winter break donation?
It is.
It is, yeah. I noticed on other divisions that did this program, which I was interested in us starting, that they did something similar. I think that's just great. I've volunteered at the rescue mission quite a bit, and over the holiday break, that'll be really nice for them to have that extra food.
And they were really excited about it.
I'm sure, yeah.
It's a good way to make use of any excess purchases.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add one comment. I know, Ms. Fasani, you're the one that originally brought this idea to us. The board, endorsed the exploration of it. I want to commend, Mrs. Strada, her team, Ms. Peterson. And it also took, of course, willing charity partners who could make that work. And so I'm really excited that this has all come together.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
a
I
wonderful
might-
program. Yeah.
Might add that, when I was with the railroad, we did that, anything that we had, and they were very accepting of anything that we brought them. And it's such a great thing to do, where we were just throwing it away. And that's, and these people really need it, they do, so.
I like Dr. Nicely said, I'm so glad that you guys, I know it was an undertaking for you, and you have a lot of things that you do on a daily basis, and to put one more program in place is a lot of phone calls, a lot of connections, and then, of course, the staff to then go and deliver that food over Christmas break, that's a huge undertaking, so I just want to thank you. I think this was brought to my attention by a constituent, and she said, I'm volunteering in the cafeteria, and I'm seeing just buckets and buckets of food going in the trash bin. That's good food that people could use. And I think it also helps our students understand that they have a responsibility to manage waste, and they're blessed with a lot of food, and that they can give to others. So thank you for taking it on.
It was on Mrs. Strada.
Okay,
So
well,
all the kudos goes to her. She did a fantastic job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. We'll move on to item 3.02, safety plan for athletic activity ticketed events for secondary schools. Dr. Rhonda Stegall.
Thank you.
Okay, so, good evening. So, been working with the police department and our principals, most of our secondary principals, and thinking about safety of athletic events and large-scale activities that we hold at our schools. As you're aware, most of large venues in the area, Birkeland Center, Salem Civic Center, Virginia Tech ball games, all those different kind of large-scale stadiums have clear bags and different safety protocols. There have also been several high schools who have started implementing that, Roanoke City, Franklin County. Salem, of course, when they play football at Salem Civic Center, have to follow the clear bag rule. And so we have been working with our police department trying to improve our safety in these events. And some of the things we talked about was these are the recommendations that we are making for ticketed events. So that would be the ticketed events this is going to be outside for outdoor football, large-scale events, and indoor. So we would translate this into the winter events. So what we're looking at is clear bags allowed. The exception would be a clutch for basically a small purse size that women could bring in, or men. Medical supplies, of course, would be allowed. Diaper bags are allowed, but could be searched if needed. We're not going to have people there searching. We're going to post this, send out messaging, make sure the parents are all aware. If they're involved in the team, we're going to make sure the team, the coach shares that with the parents and the visiting team to make sure everybody is aware that this is going to be our policy. And we're also going to have clear bags at the front door, so when somebody comes in and they have forgotten their clear bag, if they choose to purchase one, it can even be a plastic Ziploc bag, right? So we could have a cheaper version, or they could purchase, a lot of the schools are doing fundraisers where they're selling clear bags with the logo on them. So we will give them options so they can enter with what they need. And then another one that's a big one is no outside food and drinks. This causes a problem when sometimes adults, but students also bring in things that aren't supposed to be brought into our ball games. So we can't tell what's inside of drinks when they're in water bottles and different things. So we're just going to say no outside food and drinks. That helps improve safety. And then we have an issue at our football games where mostly our middle school age students, but also some elementary age students are there left unattended by an adult. And so when you are supervising a football game, there's 3 to 4 school administrators, and then SRO officers are there, and you're dealing with hundreds of people. So the sheer ability of those few people to manage such a large number of people have become very difficult, to the point where our police officers have asked for some support. Part of the problem is they're not able to identify the middle school students because they don't have IDs. So it's become a little bit of a problem. So together we have decided that we would like to implement that elementary, middle school age students need to be there with a parent and need to be accompanied by that parent at all times. And then the last one is no re-entry with ticketed events. We have a practice of leaving our gate open, and at halftime anybody can come and go as they choose. And the police have brought that to our attention that that's problematic, and of course it is. So we're going to start shutting those gates and saying no re-entry. So if you leave the game, you're not coming back in. The only difference is there's all-day activities, wrestling events where parents come and go. Those would be an exception. They typically give some kind of wristband or something a little bit different for those all-day events. So we feel as if we add these 4 things, it will help us tighten up our safety and security a little bit at our ticketed events. And the restriction excludes the players, the participants, the officials, the media, those kinds of groups. And then the school staff, along with those who are in charge of ticket sales, whoever's manning the gates, sometimes they are teachers or other staff, they will be responsible for enforcing this. We will not use our SRO officers to enforce these policies because they are not legal policies, they are school policies. So what we've heard from a lot of our principals who have implemented this for football is that they've made it known, and the parents and the guests have just abided by their wishes. So they haven't had a whole lot of pushback on this, and I think everybody understands the reason why, because these are in practice everywhere you go. So it's starting to become the norm. So just wanted to present this to you, that this is something that we are recommending to help improve safety. We are not planning on putting this into effect until January 2nd of 24, simply because we want to give the schools for indoor sports enough time to tell the parents, advertise that this is what we're doing, get it out to the opposing teams who will be visiting, and also to sell the clear bags as a fundraiser if they choose. So any questions about that?
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes, go
You've used the word policy a few times, and you've used the word procedure a few times. Is this going to be a procedure, or is this going to be a policy?
It's not a policy, it's just going to be a procedure we're going to put in place. We already, all of our stadiums already have rules that are attached to our stadium, and this is making us a little bit more consistent. Because if you walk into any stadium, most of them have signs that say, no food and drink, no reentry, that kind of thing. This makes it more consistent across all 5 of our high schools. So it will be a practice. It is not a policy in our policy manual.
Mr. Greenway?
Yeah, so do you have something?
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
do.
sorry, go ahead. No, I thought you, yep.
I was calling on you.
No, it's fine.
So this is fantastic. I've thought from the beginning that we need something like this enforced. I'm at the games. I see kids kind of running around. I know the staff at Hidden Valley has struggled at times, and I've gotten some pushback, I'll just say, from some parents that said, they're used to being able to drop their kids off at these events and let them run wild. But when you're hearing from the public and the people who are involved in safety, the officers, that this is something that's necessary, we need to listen to those professionals and hear what they're saying. And although it's inconvenient that you won't be able to drop your kid off, I think in this day and age where we've got a lot of things that happen that we don't wish them to happen, this is very important. So thank you for the work that you've done, and thank you for working with the teams out there to get this moving in the right direction.
No, other than, I agree with Ms. Fasciani that this is needed, been needed. I mean, it's something that other localities, major events, it happens all the time, and that's the way it, it provides that extra layer of safety that we didn't have. And I agree with dropping off the kids. It's then it happens on our site, and then something happens to the child, and then they're saying, well, you weren't there, the parents weren't there. Well, we're saying you need to be with them all times. So, thank you for the work on this.
So let me come at it from a different perspective, and I know that, that some of our administrators are in favor of this as well, as we know. But, I can't help but worry and think about the poor population in this scenario, or the single-family working parents, or the parents that are just working 2 jobs. That if this policy were in place, until I guess we're saying high school kids can come by themselves.
Yes.
Until I was a high school kid, I would have never attended. I couldn't have got a parent that would want to go and sit if I were watching another event. And so I think this affects disproportionately our lower socioeconomic or poorer students.
Well, it's an adult, it's not
It
a
says
parent.
adult, yeah, not
It's an
just
adult.
parent.
So you could go with a friend's mom or dad or.
Yeah, you can go with your friends.
And that's easy to say when, when you have, that available to you. But I just don't, and again, this is a procedure, it's not a policy.
That's right.
So what happens, I'm assuming if it's a procedure or a policy, if a kid shows up without a parent, he's removed from the stadium?
They wouldn't be allowed in at the ticket gate.
So who watches that kid if a parent does drop them off?
They would probably have to call the parent, tell them to come back and pick them up.
And they should know the
And that piece,
regulations.
by the way, is already the practice at almost all the
It
stadiums,
is.
including Bird.
No, I get it, I know that, but it still makes it no less difficult. And I would imagine at Northside, you've got a good number of kids that they just won't be able to attend sporting events.
I am in 100% agreement with you here, Mr. Greenway. We've got kids who we want these students to come support their peers and support the athletes on whatever team that may be, whether it be the football team or the basketball team, and to force a parent to have to come who may be working or may not
Maybe
have
there's
the
not
interest.
even a parent. I mean, I didn't even say that.
We didn't
Our schools
say.
just aren't, our school staff's just not equipped to babysit.
You got an
Yeah,
adult.
it's just,
You got
I
an
mean, for
adult.
nighttime events, we're just not equipped
And
to do that.
that's,
Is the problem only in football, at football games? Do we have this problem at baseball games? Do we have this problem at basketball games? Are we talking about just football season? Where's
It's
the
mainly
problem?
football.
Well, let me speak to another issue, and I can't remember at Northside. We just spoke about this at Cave. Some of the issues, and I don't know if this is we don't have bathroom facilities on the opposite side either. So a lot of those confrontations are because these kids are mixing, and I know of a particular instance that is causing part of this to come up, that was the case. And so if we had facilities on the opposite side, and you don't have it at Bogle, I don't know about it, Northside, do y'all have restroom facilities?
Porta-johns.
So,
Portable.
what's that?
Portable.
Portable. Do we even have, I don't even think we had portable.
we don't, the thing about it is the topography at our, with Hidden Valley, you can have handicap, they can't get up the ramp. So
Right.
we don't
There's
have
a
to
lot of
get over
issues.
there. And there's a lot of issues to that, and I've talked about this in the past, about trying to get some facility over there to separate, because once you mix kids with situations and maybe the games, and they'll see your logos, and, you start talking trash, and then before long, you have police and, altercation. But I'm just saying, besides that, trying to take care of handicaps and handicapped people in certain situations that you have, we need to, and I would like, I'd like to see what it would cost.
I'm good with that. I just, and again, back to this policy, I know it's but I'm telling you, it's just not fair to those kids, I don't think. I think it disproportionately affects those kids.
Would you like a comment from, recent principal?
sure.
When we started doing this at Byrd, we were having middle school kids suspended, arrested, in fights, bringing weapons, all sorts of things. When we started this policy, it all went away. We were suspending kids almost every week because of things that happened at football games. And then we started this policy, and it took care of the issues 100%. My son comes to the game, so I have to, bring him and sit in the stands and that kind of thing now. But at the time, when I was principal there, it eliminated all the problems. Now, I do think your statement is correct in that it does affect certain kids more than others who don't have parents that would bring them to the games. But from a supervision and a safety standpoint, it 100% eliminated the issues.
I agree. I just wish there was some kind of compromise that we could make. And again, if my kids wanted to go, I went with them and was there too.
Sure.
It's not
It's
It's
unfortunate.
not us that I'm worried about. It's,
Well, typically you could, I mean, I don't know, Tim, but I've taken kids with me, parents can't come, and I've been at the games, walking around, talking to people, and I've had to tell people, you gotta come back and get your kid, because there's no adult, and then they'll say, oh, wait, let me call so-and-so, she's there at the game, and she'll be the supervised adult. And actually, just to the clear bag policy, I had a student from Hidden Valley, actually, she was a Cave Spring student, and she showed up, she had her backpack, and she had her computer in it, she had her laptop. And her parent left, and she's a high school student, and she said, what am I gonna do with this? And nobody could take responsibility, if you will, for that book bag and that laptop. But what we did is we talked to the people in the control tower, and they went ahead and they said, here's a parent, and that parent will watch your bag. But we have to be careful. I mean, even in the airport, you can't leave a bag unattended. We certainly can't
the
do that
bag, well, first
in our
off,
games. So, I mean,
the bag, I don't even know who's going to administer that, because they're just going in the games. I mean, that's.
no, but I guess my
almost-
point is, like, there's policies in place for a reason in these various other organizations, and
No, look, I get the meaning. I have no qualms. I mean, heck, our school's probably the one that wanted to start this process. So I get it, and I respect, and obviously I respect your opinion, Todd. I absolutely get it. And it's just for football, right?
No, this is for all sports, but the football is where the problem is. That's where we get the students are dropped off.
You have
or
more
it's Friday
supervision in
night.
the other ones, I guess, a little closer.
Was there any consideration to just doing this for football and not all our
No,
sport?
the principals wanted to, we had a meeting and asked, do we want to roll these over into winter sports? And they all said yes.
I'm not gonna buck, we'll see, but if I start getting calls, I mean, I just know that, as a young kid, if I wanted to go, to see, I mean, it's just eliminates for those that don't have, access to a lot of things. It eliminates their abilities to participate in many ways. And for kids that have access, that have money, that's not an issue. I get it,
Well, it's not necessarily, I don't know, you got to talk about money. I think if
Everybody
you have
has
a
to pay.
friend- If you have a friend and they have friends, and the parent says, hey, I can't go to the game tonight, can you take my child to the game and, supervise them? I'm not saying, they gotta have, people,
I
they have
get it,
friends.
I get it,
and
but
they gotta
that's
go to the
not
game.
always the case in our communities.
Well, it's not always the case in our communities. It's just the fact that, I mean, it's just fact that maybe, I don't know what it would, what percentage it would be, but most kids have friends. And most kids have friends that have parents that go to the games.
Most kids do, I'm with you.
Well,
So
I
Yeah,
mean,
but you
let's just-
can't sacrifice the safety of the entire community based on one or two kids, Tim. And so they should
I'm
call
not
you.
s- I'm not
They should call you and you
sacrificing.
can take them to the game. You could be the parent.
I'm happy
right?
to do that.
I know
I'm
you would.
good
No,
with
I'm
it.
just saying, because I know
Absolutely.
you've got that heart.
I would absolutely
And
do
you'll
it
be
in
at
a
the games
heartbeat.
anyway.
Yeah, I'd absolutely do it.
And the
but-
challenge, obviously, is not the ones who want to come in and sit down and watch the game, right? It's the
But
ones
it
that running around.
but it
and
affects those,
Causing
those are the-
problems,
Sure.
and
So-
the policemen intervene, and they won't even tell them who they are, you can't identify them, and that's what they're trying to confront.
But I think the statistics is just what Todd said. I mean, it certainly has been eliminated a lot, and that certainly, to me, is a telltale.
Yeah. Sometimes we have this mentality.
Save those kids from getting suspended from
Right,
school.
yeah,
The ones
right.
that come, get in trouble, and then be suspended, and you're, affecting their education, it kept them in school.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
You've saved those kids, I agree.
And, I think we do have sometimes, unfortunately, the mentality, well, that's how we've always done it. I always say, well, how did that work out for Xerox and Blockbuster?
This has nothing to do with
I
how
know.
we've always done it.
But I will say that times have changed, and now we wear seatbelts, and now we have to worry about security, and now we got to take your shoes off at the airport. So this is one extra security measure that I think I'm hearing that we need, so I know your heart's
As long as
in
it's
the right place,
procedure.
Tim.
Yeah, as long as it's procedure and not policy.
It's procedure.
I'm not sold.
I don't know how enforceable it is. I mean, if we're not gonna have staff there enforcing it, that's,
Well, they have to pay a ticket to enter.
Yeah.
So somebody's got eyes on them. So are we going to pay an extra person just to stand there and check bags? No. But they are walking up to a ticket gate. There is somebody exchanging money. I mean, somebody can say you need to have a clear bag. Are we going to chase people down? No. But we
that's-
expect people to read the signs, read the messages that we're sending, and follow what we ask them to do.
Just safety-wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
3.03, school calendar survey results.
All right, so wanted to review the feedback we received from the calendar results. On the first slide is just a example of the different calendars. So option A is basically a calendar that started, the teachers would start August 5th and the students started August 15th, as compared to the draft B calendar, where the teachers would start August 12th and the students August 22nd. So basically a week difference between those start dates and, of course, finish dates. Everything else in those calendars were very similar. If you look at the next slide, it will show you the numbers of the results. And we had a really great turnout, 7,237 responses, which was almost double what we received last time we did a survey. 70 of those 7,237, 71% were parents, 11% were students, and 18% were staff. And out of all three of those groups, they favored option A. If you look at the numbers on the right, you will see at the top, it shows you the overall numbers, 57% for option A, 42.9% for option B. Parents, you can tell parents leaned, there was a little bit closer vote between the two, 53% for A and 46% for B. And now students and staff, you could see there's a little bit more distance between the two. They more heavily chose option A, 69% to 30%. And for staff, it was 64% to 36%. So definitely students and staff leaned more heavily to option A. And then on the next slide, we would recommend the consideration of adopting the updated 24-25, 25-26 school calendars based on the survey. We typically present 2 calendars at a time. The 25-26 calendar mirrors the 24-25, just with adjustments with the dates. And of course, I've given you copies of both of those calendars for you to review. Any questions about that survey?
So if I'm looking at, just kind of stay status quo, really,
It's backed up a week.
just a little bit.
It's backed up 1 week. The main changes are we back up a week. Staff gets 2 days additional work days. They're flex days at the beginning of the school year. We built those in both calendars because teachers have more professional development at the beginning of the school year, and we wanted to give them more time to do that at the beginning of the school year, so we're giving them 2 extra days to get that done. And we're making those flex days to where they can do those at home, or they can come into the building and set up their classroom if they choose to do that.
Okay.
And then the other difference is we back everything up a week. We graduate after Memorial Day instead of before. So those are the main changes between the
It
calendars.
looks like spring break's the same week.
It is.
We try to standardize our spring breaks that last week in March, and we've seen more and more of our neighbors kind of get on board with that, which people appreciate,
Yeah.
that alignment. I would just highlight, I know Dr. Stigall's already said this, but this would be the first time that we've adopted a calendar that's 178 days versus 180 days.
So we have
We
less days
wind
to
up,
play.
of course, basing our school, our certification to the state based on the 999 o'clock hours. But we've always started off with 180 days. This would be the first time we would not be, just
Okay.
highlighting that.
Yeah, I just have a couple comments. First of all, thank you. I had a number of constituents and teachers come to me saying that they didn't like going back so early. So to push it back just a week, I think we're going to have a lot of happy people out there. The majority of people I also spoke with did not like the idea of going into June. That was like a taboo for some reason. But I'm wondering, in terms of graduation dates, does that come with that Memorial Day date? Are we close to graduation on the 21st, 27th, 28th, that people can kind of work in, graduate? I didn't look at those dates.
Yeah, it's 27, 28.
Okay, so that's great. So a lot of folks have people coming in from out of town, and I think that helps them out also. They've got family coming in from faraway places. They've got more time to spend together, things like that. So I think people will appreciate that. One more comment I have is, I've always paid attention to, I think kids get sick and they need a day to catch up. And I think it's so important that we have, 3 hours, a half day here or a day there every single month, even just a mental health day to kind of regroup, get yourself back together, get caught up. And this calendar allows for that. So I think it's great. And I think a lot of people also are going to like the November 4th and the number 5th. And I think I emailed you that. That's the first time we've seen that, right?
Yeah.
So
What we have done in the past, we had those 2 days and we separated them because originally we put one after Halloween because that's a hard day to come back from. And then we weren't sure, we had a lot of conversation about, is childcare harder to get 2 days separate weeks or 2 days back to back? So we've done the separate week for a while, so we thought let's change it to 2 days back to back and see what that looks like.
Okay, I think that's great. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
In going from 180 down to 178, was there any consideration maybe taking one of the bank days away if we get snow or have, because then we could be down to 173 days. I guess it's all hours. Steve, we're still getting the number of hours.
It's all a matter of just hedging against what could happen, right? And not, you really don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're taking away spring break or further extending you're into June if you can help it, right? So it's just a matter of trying to hedge, because like we saw last year, no snow days, who would have thought, right? But we've obviously had days years where we had a lot more, so. I know Dr. Scott looked at that in terms of what the averages are and so forth, and so we felt comfortable, peeling away those 2 days, like this is the first time probably in the history of Roanoke County we've not done a 180-day calendar. So,
And you gave me a hard time about taking 1 day.
so this is kind of a baby step towards saying, okay, we're comfortable with taking 2, but we would not recommend going, beyond that, because you just can't predict, and then that becomes even harder
don't
for
see any
folks
reason.
to.
Does it ever happen?
Okay.
I will say
Yeah.
the Farmer's Almanac says
Yes.
that the Pacific Northwest is going to get inundated with snow, and they already have,
El Nino.
and that we're going to be cold and dry. So let's see.
Will this be a
No.
Consent agenda
Chuck says
item?
no.
Supposed to be more snow.
consent
No.
agenda?
I think we can go ahead,
Yeah, we can.
He's a tourist. He's a tour guide. He knows these things.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, 3.04, School Business Relations Update. Dr. Jason Sir, I'm sorry, Mr. Jason Sir and Mr. Carr. I'm still on Dr. Stegall.
Let me, Mr. Chairman, just kind of, first of all, thank Mr. Sir, Mr. York. We wanted to give you an update in terms of what they've been up to. This is obviously the first year we've had this business liaison position. As you recall, this was a move that was recommended out of the Citizens Advisory Committee. They felt strongly that, we need somebody who could build those relationships with businesses, to thinking ahead to our CTE center, trying to find, potential funding sources for equipment, and certainly continuing to extend our opportunities for our students in terms of apprenticeships. And so I know that's been the focus. And we've been meeting monthly to be updated, but we wanted the board to have that. I will say up front, when we meet privately, we get into a lot of details about which companies we're talking to and where they stand in terms of where they are and what they're wanting to do. In the interest of our public meeting here, we don't want to get into that level of detail, but if you want to talk offline about particular companies, we can do that. But it's like in a negotiation. You don't want to, give away where somebody is, because that could alter that relationship. So just want to say that up front.
And this is Mr. York of Mrs. York, right? And, yeah, we need.
I got introduced,
We need to all kind of get together.
Mr. Greenway, you appreciate, last week when I was visiting classes at Bonsack, I was introduced the exact same way. Who is this? Oh, this is Mrs. Nicely's husband.
I love it. That's the way I'm gonna start introducing you.
Right.
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Nicely for that nice intro. So yes, we've been doing quite a bit of work on the building relationships with business and industry. Mr. York's a tremendous asset in this arena, and really enhances our ability to be able to get out there and make connections. Oftentimes, we're out there together. If he makes a connection, he'll reel me in and say, hey, we need to meet with so-and-so. I don't know where I need to point this thing. Of course, are super excited about the new CTE Center, and with the hopeful opening in 2026, if everything goes hunky-dory. Of course, one of the main thrusts there, and one of the main emphases, has been partnering with business and industry. We want to make that a key aspect of this, and not just towards the opening of the center, but also for longevity, moving forward, building relationships that last, and where the business and industry can be involved long-term. So this is a lot of words. I'm gonna run through some of this, and the bottom part of this is where we'll dwell on for the most of the time. But we're using a multi-pronged strategy to reach out. Of course, we're reaching out for resources that are need-based. We know we have a CTE center that's coming up. We know we'll have a budget for equipment. We want to make sure that we outfit our new center with the top of the line as best we can. We want to open the facility with using the budget that will be provided, but also using and working with business and industry to help provide what is the most cutting-edge technology. The environment that we're in right now, CTE is pretty popular, and rightfully so, I would say. It provides a lot of opportunity for students to explore and investigate career pathways, and we want that for our students, and we're able to provide that. It's also about developing the workforce. We hear constantly, on a regular basis, that companies need to grow their own and to grow their workforce and their skilled labor. And this is one thing that we can really expand on. We also, and I'll lean on Carl a little bit here, we're going to go back and forth a little bit, but on the leadership, being proactive and being able to provide opportunities for our students not to, maybe to come in on an entry-level position, but to work into leadership positions, much like we've already experienced in our apprenticeship program, but being able to provide instruction that gets them the leg up and a kind of a speed forward there. Our approach is doing a little bit of research. We've been doing, I say a little bit, we've been doing a lot of research. And we're going to hit on these points here more in depth in the next slides, identifying targets and contacts, folks that we should be reaching out to. And that's a complicated effort because, it's not the same for every company. It's not the same for every industry. Who the person is at one company that will be the mover is different than the next company. So it's really being able to reach out and identify those contacts and targets. And if you've been down the hallway, on my hallway over here in Carl's office, he's got a big board up with all these artistically done, he's pretty artistic, artistically done little tabs and keeping track of who we are shooting for, who we've already reached out to, who the contacts are. It's a complicated process. We love meeting in person, and of course that's our goal eventually, if not immediately, is to meet in person with the companies and then build those long-term relationships. Start off letting them know, building out what we have to offer as the school system and how we can partner with them, and then creating a mutually beneficial and ongoing partnership, like I said. We're not doing this rapid fire in a way that is just for the moment. We want to see these long-lasting relationships with business and industry that'll benefit our students. So I think Carl's going to kind of dive into some of this, and we'll probably go back and forth, but on some of the research we've done.
Yeah, so some of we've been to a lot of different areas, I know you guys have as well, to check out what's working in other places. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We know that a lot of these things that work in other places like Loudoun County or Culpeper will work here as well. Although Roanoke Valley is a unique area as well. The businesses are different. The industry can be a little bit different. But so we've spent a lot of time with these folks, and we continue to look for other avenues of information and help as we move forward. The Roanoke Valley is a great area for industry and for support. There's a lot of businesses that get the fact that, they need to do their part for economic development. They know that when the school system and when CTE and these other programs are doing well and healthy, that it's good for business. It's good for attracting talent for them and also good for, bringing in different other businesses to help with taxes and other things. So we've done a lot of research and we continue to do research, but it's interesting, some of the companies that we've talked to and worked with in the past, they're always changing. So we're not interested in just touching them once. We want to build a relationship. Long after I'm gone and somebody else is doing Jason's job one day, we want a program that's continuing to run. We want a process that we can put in place that continues to work for us and really serve the kids and serve the school system. So again, we've spent a lot of time with these folks. With companies, we talk about partnerships. We're still developing out levels. We don't want to come too low, and we don't want to come in too high. If you come in too high, you might run some people off. I can't, if we're asking for capital, we're asking for supplies, whatever we're asking for, we don't want to make it easy for a company to say, I just can't participate, it's too much. But then, you can also go too low. And then people are like, well, that's not a big enough project for our group to be a part of. So that's a give and take. It takes a lot of conversations. It takes a lot of work with leadership in these companies. So that's one of the things that I'm working on is touching base with a lot of different companies. There's a lot of new companies coming in. We want to get them early. We want to make sure they're in line. And with the project here, with the new CTE Center especially, I mean, this is going to be a state-of-the-art facility. So when we talk to companies, we want them excited about it. We want them, when they have company come in, we want them to want to bring them by the CTE Center and show them what they're a part of. That's our goal. We take a high approach to this, and we want them to be as serious about it as we are, and they are. But we have to listen to what companies want and need. And in this day and age, some companies are becoming more open because they're finding that their workforce is aging. And they're trying to figure out how are they going to get leadership, how are they going to get people into these roles a few years down the line, because they've got talented people, but they need those talented people to be training somebody. So CTE is a good fit for them. There's some things that are coming together that the timing's really good on, and it's opened up some more doors, I think, for us.
Yeah, and I think what companies want, part of the answer to that is the apprenticeship approach. Part of it's the cooperative education approach, where they are able to train their own employees, get them in while they're a little bit younger, haven't learned bad habits in another workplace, and they're able to bring them in and really get them off the ground the way they want them. I was just with one of our apprenticeship partners today with some of our apprentices. This company has, I think, 7 of our students, which is a good number, and just raving about how these students, they have great work ethic, they show up to work on time, they're absorbing the information, but that's what the companies want. They want students coming in with those skills. If we can give them the skills, and oftentimes technical skills, the hard skills, in some of our classes, that gives them even more of a leg up. So that's what companies are looking for.
Really, there's 2 different kinds of companies that we're talking about here. One, companies that this program directly affects. They see that the kids that are doing these programs can come in, do registered apprenticeships, internships, co-ops, or whatever. And then there's another group that are really just companies that may not be directly affected by our kids, but are good stewards. They may have had corporate offices here at one time. They may be gone now. We're still going after them. Mr. Ray has helped us with Norfolk Southern because of his experience there. I was at Kroger for a long time, so these people are no longer, the corporate offices are no longer here, but they still have work that's being done here, and we hope that we can appeal to, hey, you have a history here, you still have a part in this valley, and so I can't commit that they're going to do that, but we're not going to ignore them. We're going to go after them and see if we can get them involved and appeal to their history in the valley. So we really have a couple different groups that we're going after. And again, this may be stuff that you already know, but I mean, the important part is figuring out who the decision makers are in these companies. They're different in different places. It may be a president, it may be an owner, it may be a C-level person, it may be a VP or even someone in HR or marketing. It depends on how they delegate it, but there's no one-size-fits-all plan. So that's part of the discovery that we're doing, is not only getting to know them and starting a conversation about this as we move towards this new facility, this new building, but also finding out who we need to talk to. Try to get to that person that can pull the trigger and that has a heart for this, because they're out there in these businesses.
And we've been fortunate, Carl's done a good job with certain contacts in the valley who will offer to be a point person for us in an industry, and be able to, okay, I'm going to link you up with 4 or 5 of maybe some of my own competitors, but understanding that bringing those folks in increases the odds that they're going to be able to hang on to their current employees. Instead of playing that carousel thing, they'll skip over to the next company for a quarter more an hour. mentality, that we're all working on this together. So that's been a good positive thing that we've run into.
Absolutely. We go in, our approach is to try to control the narrative. We don't want them leading us. A lot of this, they don't really know that much about. It's interesting. And the other side of that is we'll go in and every time we talk to a business, somebody went to Burton. Every time we're in there, somebody has a story, which makes it easy because they had a good experience. And they like the program. They want to be a part of it. So, we go in, we try to control the narrative. We try to inform them about what we're doing and what Burton does today. And they're always impressed. I mean, sometimes they're a little surprised that they don't know more about it. So that's part of what we're working on as well. We promote the program. We talk about the new center. We talk about sponsorships and their part in that and promoting them along with it. We ask a lot of questions. We listen a lot. We try to find out what they want. I know there's some companies that probably in the past wouldn't have talked to us, like PFG in Benton. We went and talked to them, and they had changed, well, they weren't ready for us yet, but once we explained it to them, they went back to their principals and they said, we want to do this. A lot of times we run into, there's a worry with registered apprenticeships that they're too young or that there's an insurance
If you need
issue.
any help in that one, I'm happy to
Okay, good.
help you with that one.
Well, they're receptive. They're trying to figure it out
I know
because
the point,
they
yeah.
want that. And so we were glad to talk to them and
Good,
get them
good.
interested, and we're moving forward with
Be
them.
perfect for them.
Yeah. So we're doing that with a lot of different companies. How we communicate. Some people want a lot of communication. Others just tell me when you need me. Tell me when you need me to do what you want me to do. But we also, Jason and his team do a great job with making sure that we get the right connection in these companies. We really need a mentor. We need somebody that's going to really take care of the young person and feed them the knowledge and the skills that they need. We don't want to just turn them loose. And it's funny, we talk about it, we're really, we know the story we want to tell. So then we're backing into, hey, this is what we want to happen so that we can tell this positive story. So that helps inform how we talk to them and how we want them to work with us. So that's kind of the way we're approaching it there. Obviously, CTE today is different. A lot of them still think it's, a vocational school program, and they have their own thoughts about that. They love to come and tour. We've had many companies this year come and tour, and we're really impressed with Burton and our teachers and our kids. Opportunity Ready is something that's very interesting to them. That's a language that they really like.
Especially, and I'll throw in there with the Opportunity Ready being, the 5 Cs and making sure that our students are, even before, if we're with a new company that hasn't heard about that initiative, they'll come out and spout off most, if not all, of the items that we know need to be incorporated and make a student opportunity ready. They say we need students that communicate and collaborate and, meet all those 5 Cs. Well, we're working on that, and we can say that we're working on that as a school system. So there is a two-way street here. On the left-hand side, those are things we can do. Provide the tours of Burton, provide access and opportunities for companies to come in and speak to our students. Influence, what maybe the curriculum looks like. As you know, we have competencies in CTE, kind of like our SOLs. We're able to add local competencies. If a company comes in and says, hey, we really need this added to such and such curriculum, we can work with them on that and flex that out a little bit. Providing workforce, curriculum, innovation, PR, and promotional opportunities, but then the companies can come to the table, and these are the things we're coming after them for. And that is, guest speakers or subject matter experts, being innovative in the classroom and helping our teachers think outside the box. And of course, supplies, equipment, and capital. Those are some of the things that we anticipate being able to. We've already had very positive conversations with companies in some cases on that front, and already some offerings coming our way. So we're very pleased with that, even though we're still trying to figure out those levels and making sure we're coming at it with the right level anticipation.
And an innovation, I mean, we'll have companies that we're talking to that are telling us where they're going. So instead of just teaching what we've been teaching, they'll say, will you add this part to it? Will you add, electricity or electrical vehicles, or will you add some of that to it so that they can get some exposure? So that kind of feedback, if we're getting that kind of feedback, then we're moving down the road. They're already saying, hey, we want to work with you. Now we want to see if you'll work with us. And so we hope that everything that we're asking for beyond that will start to fall in line. If we need capital from them, if we need supplies, materials, there's so much value that we can get in a lot of different ways. And it all reduces, hopefully how much it costs us to run the school, so.
So we're adding a dental ortho assistant and diesel technician curriculum to the automotive program, the collision repair and HVAC. We're in the process of building out those advisories. Of course, they're not current programs. We don't have current advisories in place, but Carl and I met with the Roanoke Valley Dental Society at Hotel Roanoke a couple weeks back, had very positive, we didn't know what we were going to get out of that, had a very positive response. I think we've got 9 orthodontists and dental folks that have responded to be on the advisory. That's very exciting to us. We're also in touch with and had meetings with Henry Schein, which is an equipment supplier of dental equipment, and they are one of the premier dental equipment suppliers. And we're trying to get with them and figure out what exactly we're going to need in this new facility. Collision repair, we have a gentleman here local off of Plantation Road running that show and advisory, bringing a lot of people to the table. We're going to have excellent industry input on how to set these programs up so that they're state-of-the-art, cutting-edge, and HVAC likewise. So we're excited about the advisories that are coming to bear. And in summary, go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, we've got over 100 businesses identified, but there are more out there. And we're not just looking, we're looking in the Roanoke Valley, but there are also some bigger companies that may have a vested interest in the Roanoke Valley. So we're also talking to them. We're not limiting ourselves to just what we see when we drive into work. We think that there are some companies that may have aspirations to come and build here. And if we can get ahead of that, the sooner we can get to them and be a part of their plans, then the better off we are. So we're not just limiting ourselves to what's here, but we've got over 100 businesses identified, and there's still more. And we need to talk to all of them.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Go back to 5 or 6 years ago when we started this process, and to think where we're at and the possibilities for Roanoke County to have this CTE here in Roanoke County and to modernize it, to facilitate it, to have somebody as a business liaison, to, and Mike, we can remember starting the apprenticeship program, and we had a couple companies and grew it to 20 companies, and now we're talking about over 100 businesses. It's just amazing the impact this school can have on our community and Roanoke County, not just Roanoke County, by the time Montgomery, Frank, wherever in this region, how this is going to just reach into every spectrum of this region. So it's exciting time, exciting.
And I think we got 37 apprenticeships now?
We have 47 regional.
47.
Yep. And the vast majority of those are Roanoke County students.
Yeah, so it's great. And I know, continue.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
I know I met several times with Carl, and, just been around for a long time. I know several people in the valley, so Carl has certainly capitalized on some of those names, and certainly, I think that's what we do as a board, the people that we know, certainly to give to Carl, and you've done a great job. I mean, you're not bashful, and it's good. So, that's what it takes when you get out asking for services, money, different types of equipment. So, great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Seems like I'm the Citizens Advisory Committee. I know highly recommended we create that position, and it's going to allow us to hit the ground running. When that new facility opens in a couple of years, we're going to be able to really hit the ground running, it seems, and do some great things. So, good
Well,
presentation.
So to be honest, not everybody wants to be a part of this. So, you go after 100-plus companies, there's some that are not ready. Jason and I always say, we never hear no, we hear no, not yet. Because eventually they're
You
going to want to be a
can't
part
say
of
no,
this.
but so long.
They're going to want to
Can't
be
be
a part of it.
no, but so long.
That's right. So, so we're excited about that, and I'm glad Mr. Ray's been a big help, and we need everybody, though. That's a great segue into, we need your help. You know a lot of people, and if we can get a name, if we can get a business, we'll go after them, we'll go talk to them. And if we can use your name, then it helps us get to the next level. So we want that.
Mr. Goodway?
Yes.
Great presentation, Mr. York. It was fantastic. So I just have a couple questions. I like that you said at the end, it's who can we bring here? Because we know what's here already, but we got to keep growing, and we got to bring people possibly even back. I mean, we've got quite a few companies that have left. Wouldn't it be nice to get them back here? Say, what a beautiful, I mean, they know how beautiful it is. They already know how safe it is. They know how great the schools are. But then, look, now we've got the human resources to make your company even better. So thanks for saying that. And then when will you release the name of the companies to us that you've already have these relationships with? So, I mean, Caterpillar Cat, I know I've got some people I know there too. I know you've kind of touched, but is that coming or?
Well, I think that's something we need to be careful with.
Right, okay.
But as companies start committing, I think that's when we're going to want to make a public acknowledgement of their contributions, stated contributions, and I think we can.
Or stated partnerships.
Stated partnerships.
Can I make a comment
Yeah,
about
go
that?
ahead.
So two things. One, to the extent that you guys are saying, hey, we'd love to have names and have help, I think, to the extent that okay, who you already reached out to, be helpful. So absolutely offline, if you want to talk privately, I think we can talk about that. Fair
Okay.
enough. It's just in an open broadcast session.
Yeah, I was just
don't
using that
wanna do
as an example. I was just
Yeah.
curious when you will, so is that coming eventually, or are you not until those signed, sealed, and delivered
Yeah,
type of things, or?
I think, to the point of your presentation, those relationships are gonna come in different forms.
Okay.
Let me address one of them. Was it last month, we were down at, Richmond making the pitch to, try to get our CTE center in the governor's budget, right? So, one thing I was really thrilled with was being in the office of the Secretary of Commerce. I noticed as we were leaving in their office there, they have this map of the state of Virginia and all these, companies they landed or bring it in and so forth. And I thought to myself, that's exactly what we're doing. Just locally, is mapping that out and keeping that scoreboard about where we are and so forth. So I was so pleased to see that. And you talked about levels, and I think this is to your point, Ms. Vachani. One of the things we're looking at is specifically to the CTE Center, as we get sponsorships, big time donations for equipment and that kind of thing. That's where we try to rely on the expertise, the experience of other places. What are those levels? I mean, does it take this amount of money to get your name up on the wall, or is it this amount of money or different levels? We want to get that right and not undersell it.
Yeah, so you're
kinda go
actively
big.
investigating that right now? Because I know when you walk into Culpeper, you'll see they're almost like a partnership donation contributor boards up there, and it's impressive to
And we
know
think
that
people will want to have
those
their name up there.
companies are standing behind that facility, and like you said, I mean, you need partnerships. So,
Yeah, when a
okay, so
company-
soon,
When a company brings people into town and wants to take them to the Star and down to the Todman, we want them to bring them by the CTE Center and say, look at this is where your company's name is in helping educate our students and get
Where the
them
labor force
upskilled.
comes from.
Yep.
The economic development.
We're also
engine.
hopeful that just human nature is, and I know this from my business experience, if you get the right people first, there's a lot of folks that'll get in line behind them.
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't want to miss out. Who's in there? Who's involved? They want to know who's involved. So you know, there's a sort of a method to this of trying to get the right people first, but talk to everybody all the time. So we're trying to be cognizant of that.
And Mr. Sir, to Ms. Fasciani's point, and I think we did this and I wasn't able to attend this year, but we have a apprentice, kind of a
The signing event?
signing event.
Yes.
That's right. I was going to say
Yeah.
graduation, but it's signing event. And those companies are at that event, and it's amazing to see the kids that are going into this program to that program. And, you know, we had, I think the last time I attended was 27 companies maybe that were there.
There were a lot of companies
At
as
the-
part of the business
at the ball
showcase.
stadium?
That,
Yeah.
no, this wasn't at the ball
Oh,
stadium. This
at the-
was at
at
the
the-
signing.
Oh, just
Because,
showcase.
are we doing the signings at the ballparks now?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I
that's a
I wasn't able to get that, but it was 2 or 3 years ago when we did the signings in, I believe it was
Oh,
right
down-
here in the
right
gym.
If I can make a comment on that, and I think we've talked about this in the past, I think it's really important for students to see the accolades that other students get. And so I think it's great that we do it at the Salem Red Sox Center. I think it's fabulous. I'd like to do an additional step. We talked about this last year too. Those kids who are signing these internships, just like you signed for a varsity, you're going to play football for NC State. This is a big deal.
It's a huge
This is the next step in their life, just like those other kids. So we should have a formal signing with the tablecloth, with the cake, with the press at those schools for those kids who are signing with these companies. And we need to make it happen this year. So if you put that on your radar and whatever money we need to do to make that
Yes.
happen, we're going to make it happen.
Well, some of it, you know, and definitely, we'll put it on the docket. I think part of it is wrangling out with the companies to make sure that they have the time to be able to get to, if they have students at different schools, we don't want to wear them out. That's one of the reasons we kind of centralized it. But I think that's something.
But
we
if
can-
they can't,
Yeah.
that's okay. We
You can
still
do it
need to
without the
celebrate
company.
that.
It could still be a
Yeah, we
in-school
could.
celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great way to
right.
promote it within the school too.
Yeah, you might not be able to get everybody, a
Right.
representative there, but once they know they're in the paper and there's a picture of them, they want to show up.
Good idea. Okay.
Thank you,
But
guys.
the
Anything
other
else?
thing they did mention, of course, is the showcase event, and that'll be coming up when?
The showcase is coming up at the end of January.
Yeah.
So make
So
sure
that's
the
when
board
all
members
the-
know about that.
Yeah,
We'd love to have you come out.
What's the date you want to do?
January 30th,
I thought
and
so.
then we have a snow date of February 6th, I believe. But we'll get that out to you and make sure.
4 or 6.
I think it's 6.
Who's
So it's
catering
a week
that
later.
this
Who's
year?
catering? Probably our culinary folks.
Okay, good,
So,
because I think in years past, we had somebody else cater. I'm glad to see that they're going to cater
The
it.
students. and-
Yeah, I want the students to cater it.
It'll be at the Green Ridge Rec
Yeah.
Center. Yeah, we host it this year, so,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We sure appreciate
Thanks
it.
for your time.
Everything you're doing. Again,
Yeah.
same thing we told the other folks, you know, you're affecting generations, I believe, and in a very positive way. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, with 2 minutes to do this, 3.05, minor capital request, replacement desk and chairs, Mr. Todd Cables.
Less than 2 minutes. So currently, our warehouse is sort of a distribution center for all of our extra furniture. So you have furniture in a school, it breaks from time to time. We have to have stock on hand to be able to replenish it. And they are almost out of desks and chairs, which are important when you're running a school system. So staff is recommending the approval of the reallocation of $45,000 from minor capital special projects for the purchase of desks and chairs. We'd like to put that under the consent agenda for the December 13th meeting. That would supply 200 combo desks and 250 chairs.
that's fine with me.
These are
Yeah,
ones just to
discussion.
have on hand as schools need them, is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
And they also utilize those, our stock, when they do special testing, and they have to take, groups of 30 out to the schools as well.
Okay. Item 3.06, minor capital request, Bonsack Playground fencing.
This is a diagram of Bonsack Elementary School, and this area over here, this paved area and this playground right here, doesn't currently have any fencing, and according to the principal, they have some issues with, that one's used for the younger kids, and they have some issues containing the kids there, so they're requesting fencing along this red perimeter here. We also looked into doing the entire area, which was the yellow perimeter. That was about $80,000 worth of fencing. But she says what she really thinks they need is the red perimeter. We can do that for about $12,000. And so we're recommending the approval of the reallocation of $12,000 from minor capital special projects for the installation of fencing at Bonsack Elementary School under the consent agenda for the December 13th meeting.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have one more.
And then 3.07, minor capital request, Mount Pleasant Elementary Playground fencing.
So this is pretty much the same thing as we have at Bonsack. We have this playground here, which this is a picture of the old playground. It's the aerial image that was available, but we've replaced this playground now. There is no fencing right here, and it's obviously adjacent to the parking lot. There never has been a fence there, so we would like to fence that area as well. Staff recommends the approval of the reallocation of $15,000 from minor capital special projects for the installation of fencing at Mount Pleasant Elementary School under the consent agenda for the December 13th meeting.
Works for me.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And we talked about at Bonsack getting the asphalt repaved back there in their play area.
And they were working on some of those, like Green Valley too, so I think
Yeah, I
Todd,
think he's
the
got,
asphalt,
he's got projects that
you
he's
got
working
any
on.
projects?
For
What are we talking
asphalt.
about?
Asphalt, some of the play areas,
Players,
like we were talking about at
You
Bonsack.
approved
Yeah.
a couple at the last meeting out at Glenver and Green Valley.
Yep. And you're gonna
We were
get,
talking about-
yeah, we were just
And I'm gonna
talking
get you pricing on paving that area at
For
Bonsack that
Bonsack.
you just asked
Yeah.
about, at the start of the
And I
meeting.
think
Yes,
with
sir.
that fencing, that'll help hold back some of that rock on that bank too. Still gonna wash the dirt down every time, and have to be pressure washed a lot, but I think that'll help in that area.
Okay.
All right,
And
thank
I-
you, and that's,
No,
yes.
Mr. Kegel, sorry, Tim. The Hidden Valley Middle School track, I know we had talked about it. I went out and looked at it. It's
It's
pretty
in bad
bad.
shape.
It's a safety hazard.
So I didn't want to, we're not going to be able to do it until the spring anyway. I think we have already found existing funding to be able to do that.
To do that?
We
Okay.
were able to shift some CMP money to ESSER projects, some ESSER money that we didn't, some projects that we had allocated ESSER money for came in under budget. And so we were able to take some of the stuff we were going to do in CMP and put it into ESSER. So that freed up the CMP money, and I think we have enough to pave that track.
Okay.
What we have to wait on is state approval of the change in the ESSER projects. And once we have that, that's why I don't want to say,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes
too
or
far
no,
ahead of
yeah.
time.
Okay.
But that's
So-
usually a rubber stamp, so
Okay.
Thank
hopefully
you for
we'll
going
be
out
able
and
to do
looking at
that.
it, though.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah.
My dogs had a good time running around that track, though. So I'm just curious, though, it's in a flood zone.
It is.
So is there anything we can do to prevent the water from collecting? I drove by the school
Yeah.
today one more time, and we haven't had rain in, what, a couple days? I don't think we had any last night, and there was still, in that parking lot, yeah,
When we.
standing water.
Well, the track itself, when we pave it, we will look into putting in some drainage in the corners to get it where it currently builds up and then runs out onto the track. We're going to raise the track up a little bit anyway, but we'll also look at putting some drains in at that time. Now, if you want to do that at the parking lot, that's going to be more expensive. That's, we're going to fix it where it runs onto the track. If you want us to look at fixing the parking lot, we can do that. That's just going to cost more money.
Okay. It's gravel and gross and
It is.
collects water, and there's, yeah.
It's bad.
It's bad.
Not to prolong the discussion, but, years ago, I see the gavel. Parking down there is an issue, which is why they don't actually run their track meets there anymore. And we actually looked at putting in a gravel parking lot above the road, but because it's in Roanoke City, they won't let us do that because they don't allow large gravel parking lots anymore. So, anyway, thank you for looking at it.
I wish there was a better solution, because it is in the city.
It's tough.
And you end up
I'm with you
putting
on that
money
part.
into a facility that isn't technically, in the county, but at the end of the day, we have to maintain.
This could be
what
a
we
few
have.
years till
Yeah.
we can do something about that.
Yeah,
So
right.
meanwhile, as you saw,
Right.
we've got to do something to
Yeah.
make it safe.
Yeah, it has to be safe.
Thank you.
it's in bad shape.
It's in bad shape. Okay.
All right, thank you. There we go. You
Are we
guys.
off?